Hey everyone, and welcome to Almost Cancelled. I am Peter, that is Connor, and we are going to talk about Incorporated Season 1, Episode 2. It's called Downsizing. Full spoilers for the episode as always. So, this, of course, it's been a few weeks since the first episode for us because we watched the early screening of it that SyFy did.
Yeah, I really needed that previously on.
It'd been a while, more than we're used to, but, I think I remember things pretty well, and it's kind of just the aftermath of him screwing over Peterson, of Ben screwing over Peterson from the last episode, where security's really tight and Gillian's digging around and looking for culprits and try to verify his story. And he's smart enough to know that it's a little bit too easy and obvious. Like why did he go through the scanner? He knew it'd be picked up if he was guilty of this.
Yeah.
He smells something fishy, but he's digging into it and he's obviously looking into Ben and try to discern why he had that I don't know what they call it, the gun thing, the
Sonic device.
the sonic device to make one ill. So he's looking into that. He's asking why he went to the red zone with Peterson the night before and stuff like that. So there's a lot of that. We also get some flashbacks
Aye.
to young Ben and young Elena as kids and how they met. Also Hendrix there. It's also how he met Ben. So we get a little sense of his backstory, which actually I think is a very good idea. I think because there's so much like going on in this world that's different to what we're used to, it's a good
Yeah.
idea to tell the story of how he gets here and how he, and I think we said that when we seen the preview for the rest of the season after the first episode. I think we've seen that there was going to be more flashbacks and the story of how he got there. But they set up the idea that Ben was like kind of a whiz with computers and technology from a young age, and that's how
Yeah.
he got to a place where he could do this kind of thing.
Yeah, I quite like the flashbacks for the most part. I thought they were very effective in what they were trying to do. My biggest problem with them was they kept referencing today's world, as in what we experience, and it felt like this was a little bit too close in the future to have got to this stage so quickly.
Yeah, I liked it sometimes more than others. I think when Julian brings up the police coming into the house when he's talking to Ben later on, I thought that worked quite well.
Yeah, but it was the stuff for maybe like the boxing and the fights, and there was a few times where it was just like, do we need this? It just feels like, look how much things have changed in not that much time, in less than a generation.
Yeah, I think that's fair. I think maybe they leaned on it a little bit too thick
Yeah,
in this episode, but I kind of get why they're doing it. They're trying to show just how quickly things can divulge into this.
I get it, but I feel like the problem was that we didn't get any of that last time. To my memory, I don't remember thinking it at all.
It's episode 2 syndrome. It's reiterating
Yeah,
your entire
it is.
world, and
Yeah,
which I think's fine. I think it worked better for us here because it had been 3 weeks than
yeah,
had we watched this a week later.
yeah, and yeah, it's a common problem, like you say. It's episode two syndrome, but still deserves calling out when you see it.
The other thing about the flashbacks that I didn't like is I did think maybe the actress who was playing young Elena was, she was a kid actress. I guess is my polite way of saying it.
Yeah, pretty much.
When we watched Channel Zero, also on Sci-Fi, we praised the kid acting because it felt like, if nothing else, I wasn't going, oh, these kids are awful. Whereas I didn't think she was awful, but I definitely felt like, oh, this is a kid actress, and not,
Yeah, whereas, like you say, on Channel Zero, you never felt that.
yeah. So some of her line delivery was a little bit stilted and whatnot, but I think the purpose they were serving worked quite well. My only other complaint with the flashbacks would be the one that opens the episode where we see Ben's father committing suicide.
Mm.
I liked his speech. I liked the idea that he is someone who, he profited off everything that was going wrong. He's like part of the problem. He was part of the system that led to things being so badly messed up. I liked that. Him saying that and then immediately committing suicide, I thought was a bit heavy-handed.
Yeah, it felt like it could have been two separate things.
Yeah, that two scenes would have been good there instead of the one.
Or even if even if you want it to have happened after that point, just end on the end of the speech and kind of come back to the suicide later and kind of leave it as a separate part.
Yeah. Do you know what's funny actually? See, after that happened and it cut to the title, we got incorporated.
Mm.
It went back to the flashbacks with him running around as a kid, and I was thinking, oh, is this going to be like a whole episode of because it went straight back to the flashback, I thought, oh, is this going to be a full flashback episode?
Yeah,
Which it
typically you
wasn't,
have
but-
your scene up till the title card, and
Yeah.
then main plot, then back to whatever else.
Yeah, so I thought. I mean, I'm not. It's not a complaint. It's just a kind of
It,
observation.
it was structurally odd. It
Yeah.
stuck out. Not bad, but odd.
Yeah, I think Ben's plot in this episode is kind of just typical. Oh well, he get caught. He's been interrogated, and some of it was quite good. I thought there was some good sort of moments with his interrogation. You think his device that he was using to, look at his
Private
things on his
mode.
computer. Yeah, he's little.
Incognito mode, basically.
Yeah, I don't know what you call his little thing. His little.
I don't think they've called it anything yet.
They
'Cause-
haven't. I'm sure there's like a jammer or something like that. Maybe you'd call it.
Is it a jammer? Because I don't know.
It's a VPN, is what it's
It is essentially a VPN. Yeah.
That's essentially what it's doing. And you think they've got a hold of that, but it turns out to be the gun. And then obviously we learn at the end that it's Roger, who he works with, who he was kind of roping into line with them to make sure they didn't get any trouble.
Yeah.
Even though they weren't necessarily guilty of it, at least from Roger's perspective, they didn't do anything wrong, but it looked suspicious, so...
Just covering the backs.
Yeah, just covering their backs. But, it was pretty straightforward, pretty, I like that Julian's kind of onto something and he's still kind of suspicious. And I think I was worried that by the end of the episode, we'd have the thing where Ben convinces him beyond a shadow of a doubt. Because obviously later on in the season he's going to be suspicious of him again. It just makes sense that we're going to be there at some point later. So I like that he didn't get completely freed of guilt or free of suspicion. He is still suspicious to him, but because, Boss Lady wiped his mind, the NDA, she was like, no, we need to wrap this up, and she ordered the mind wipe, so he couldn't get Peterson to corroborate his story about it being his idea.
Yeah, it was clever.
And why he signed out the gun. So, I thought that worked really well, because it also makes you wonder, is Krause, is she like trying to help her
It
son-in-law?
feels like she was aware, and it was like, oh, just in case, I'm going to play this safe. Because obviously we see the other family get, what was his name? Peterson's
Peterson.
family.
Yeah, Peterson's family gets, because he's been caught at this, they get carted off to a camp, and I think that was a very important story for his wife. I think Laura benefited from this because it showed where she is in terms of her morals and her sympathy,
Yeah, but it also gives a reason for Elizabeth to help Ben, or even if she doesn't know, if she suspects maybe, it gives her a good reason to cover it up because she doesn't want her daughter to suffer.
At the same time, though, I don't think it's played for sure that's what happened. I think it's played ambiguous.
Oh yeah. I just mean like if she did do it on purpose, that would be a good solid motivation for it.
I almost like if it isn't, though. I almost like if it is just, but like if Ben just scraped through here by utter luck.
Yeah, if it was just business essentially, and she was just like, nope, we can't do it, we can't have this, just get rid of it.
Yeah, because it's maybe she didn't even know that he was being interviewed again. Like they because remember he said he was going to mention who it was, and then she cut him off and said, no, just make sure it's done by today, by any means necessary.
But
So-
we did see her watching the interview, did we not?
No, we saw her watching Peterson's stuff. We
Of course, yeah.
didn't see her watching Ben's interviews.
Yeah, you're right. There's a lot of people watching other people in this.
There's a lot of people watching other people in this. But no, I thought the subplot with the kids and them being carted off to another family because Peterson's wife decided that it was better for them to have the nice life in the green zone rather than go with her potentially into the red zone. So, so again, a bit more world building, which I think's fine. And it obviously Laura's still kind of unhinged. She does that thing where she sort of like cuts her own arm with her
Nails.
nails. Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, we've seen sort of evidence of this last time. She's definitely still disturbed from her experiences when she was seemingly captured in the red zone, tortured some kind. Details are still murky, but we're getting...
Speaking of world building, I believe that they mentioned in the flashbacks there was other areas that's beyond the red zone, right? Because there's the green zone, the red zone, and then when they're kids with him and Elena, they're like, the red zone would be better than this, or wherever it was.
Yeah, well, the impression I got from that was this was when it was first still happening, when it was all being like split up into zones.
Right,
And
so
I
the red zone hadn't been rolled out all the way yet.
And I took this, what they were in, is like this sort of interim camp where...
Okay.
So I don't necessarily think that exists anymore, but I could be wrong. But that's the impression I was getting.
Oh yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah. Yeah, it seemed like a very just sort of temporary thing. It was
Yeah,
like,
it did.
yeah.
But you say that it did feel like a shanty town,
Oh, it did, yeah.
but the red zone kind of feels like a shanty town as well, because a lot of shanty towns like they're temporary until they're not. They're just kind of there, and that feels like a lot of what the red zone is from what we've seen. It feels like all these old rundown places that are just kind of popped up and then just not gone anywhere.
I wonder though if when this was all first happening, they didn't realize it was going to be that bad in the red zone. Like they thought it would be more, not rich, but like more kind of what life used to be like.
Yeah.
And it was like a sort of gradual realization of, no, this is actually a complete utter shithole.
I hope we get to explore some of that.
Yeah, it's like a realization of how awful the world really is. Like maybe some people already seen it was going that way, some people didn't. Yeah. I don't know, but I think that's maybe something we'll get out of the flashbacks is that story, that journey as it goes on. Obviously, the other subplot we had in this episode was Theo, who of course is Ben's friend in the red zone, Elena's brother, who's of course the woman we know from the first episode they're both looking for. And he obviously is doing this fighting, this sort of cage fighting for money for the mob boss that he may have pissed off. And he's now fighting for him. And there was a couple of... We learn more about him in this episode, certainly. We learn that he's gay. He's got a boyfriend slash husband. I assume boyfriend just because it doesn't feel like people would be married out in the red zone. I don't know. Maybe it's just an assumption there.
Yeah, it feels like they wouldn't even be allowed to be. Like,
yeah.
This is not even because they're gay, just because they have to like apply for permits to have kids in the green zone and all sorts of things. You feel like, nope, marriage, not a thing. You're not allowed to do that.
Which, by the way, was it just me that thought their fast food was extremely futuristic?
Yeah, you're right.
The way it held the cups at the bottom and then it opened out and the burger was like stapled to the inside of the box.
Aye.
I was like, you know what? It's the red zone, but that was pretty nifty. That's neat. That's neat.
It's like, I know that's the red zone, but that looks like an upgrade to me.
Yeah, I want one of those burgers.
Yeah.
I'll have it. And of course, later on, he gets the steak, which I actually really like the scene with him and the big guy that he's fighting, and how like he's like giving him the look, and the big guy's just like, no, save it for the mat. Like, we're not fighting just now, you know.
Yeah. And
he even gives him the real steak, which he mentions he's never had before.
Yeah, that's good.
Yeah, and he bites into like an animal.
Who wouldn't?
Oh, I hate having greasy hands. Like, I just...
yeah, but let's say you'd lived in a red zone for 20 years.
Sure, I don't know, but greasy hands really bothers me, so...
I don't think grease would bother you that much at that point.
Maybe not, but right now as a viewer, greasy hands, you need to wash them. Come on, a little bit of hand wash.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not arguing with you. I'm just saying.
I'm being pernickety. This isn't an actual complaint of the show, by the way. This is just me being being weird.
A dick. Yeah.
Anyway, I thought it was a solid enough second episode. I think it did some character building, which is good at this point in the show. I don't think it feels any less sleek than the first episode did. I did notice they seem to confine it a lot more to indoor locations, probably to save some money. But I think that's okay. I mean, if that's...
Yeah, if they want to save them for the big moments here and there, I'm okay with that.
There was one shot that I did, even though it did look kind of ropey from an effects point of view, I did really like the establishing shot where it was looking at the green zone, with a skyline shot, and it just panned over to the red zone. Yeah,
it was pretty nice. Like you say, it was a bit ropey, but you kind of forgive it because they're trying to do something good looking.
Yeah, I think the start of it looked ropey. The green zone looked a bit too CG. I thought the red zone, funnily enough, looked better, even though that presumably is also CG because it's not like...
Well, yeah, I think maybe that's easier because it is a bit dirtier. You can hide it.
Yeah, maybe.
Whereas the green zone, it's got a shine and looks sleek and clean, and that stands out as fake a bit more, maybe.
Yeah, maybe. But no, that's episode 2. I mean, I'm still into it. I still think it. I don't think it's doing anything original yet. Like, it's still very much.
Yeah, this confirmed to me it's definitely taking much more of an espionage approach than I expected from the show going in. Like, obviously, we got that in episode 1. That was, this is a big part of it, but I didn't realize it would be like maybe the main focus, perhaps, which is what it seems to be now.
Yeah, and of course, Theo witnesses the other fighter getting his head bashed in.
With the trophy.
Yeah, which is just worth mentioning that he witnessed that, so that's kind of where he's at now. But
Yeah.
Which I will say, I was surprised. Both the fight itself and that moment were particularly bloody. Like, just the way they kept bashing on the head, and it was like you heard the squelching noise, you know?
Yeah, it was very well done. It felt authentic in the sense that these two people were really going for it.
It had bite.
Yeah.
That's the phrase I'd use. It had bite.
And often on TV, it feels toned down.
Yeah, it feels toned down. And also SyFy, another show from SyFy where they're having F-bombs in the show, even if they're muting them, but you know they're having them there.
Yeah.
Which is funny because obviously it's the same parent company as USA Network, which is also doing this. So it's funny that Universal are having this line-wide kind of on cable, at least. You know, this attempt at prestige shows rather than typical.
It's kind of like they've
cable
accepted.
fare.
Yeah, we can mute them now, but by the time it gets to the home release, you can witness it in its original
Blu-ray,
form.
on demand, whatever. Like all these things can be uncut, and it doesn't really matter.
Yeah, where
in
it
the
can
long
be
run.
actually age restricted, and it's like, whatever, do what you want.
Yeah, so that's nice to see. So yeah, I'm still into it. I don't know if I enjoyed it as much as the first episode because it was just dealing with the fallout of the first one a lot. But I'd
say I definitely didn't, just because there was some episode 2 syndrome problems that cropped up. But I'm expecting them to be fixed. You know, I don't expect them to be ongoing problems.
And of course, Roger now with this device has something to hold over Ben, and we can see how that plays out.
Yeah.
Over the next few episodes, I imagine. So there you go. That's episode 2 of Incorporated. Let us know what you thought of it in the comments below. Like and subscribe and all that stuff. It helps us out a lot if you do. Get us on Twitter at mild_fuzz. Thanks for watching, guys. We'll see you next time.